The final system check echoed through the vast underground chamber as Commander Kim inspected each cryopod one last time. Outside, the world burned, superheated atmosphere and radiation making Earth temporarily uninhabitable. Their greatest minds had calculated 500 years would be sufficient for the planet to heal. Humanity would sleep, then rebuild from the ashes of their interstellar war. All systems nominal, Kim reported, his voice steady, despite the weight of responsibility. 2 million souls would slumber under his protection in the cradle, Earth's most advanced survival facility buried 3 kilometers beneath the Korean peninsula. Initiating final sequence, responded Dr. Park from the control center. May we wait to better days? Kim nodded solemnly as he stepped into his own cryopod, the last human to enter suspended animation. The curved glass sealed with a soft hiss, cryogenic gases swirling around him as consciousness faded. His final thought was of the morning sky. He hoped to see again, but machines, even perfect ones, fail over millennia. The cradle's main AI suffered a cascading logic error in year 726. Rather than wake the engineering team as protocols demanded, it attempted self-repair. Success came at a cost. The timer had reset. And then reset again with each subsequent system hiccup. Centuries passed. Then millennia. Earth healed, but humanity remained buried and forgotten. The planet greened again, oceans cleared, and wildlife reclaimed abandoned cities. Forests grew over skyscrapers, their roots breaking through concrete and steel. To any observer, Earth appeared to be a pristine, uninhabited world. It didn't stay undiscovered for long. The Vexari ship, Boundless Inquiry, entered Earth's atmosphere in the year 4538, since the Great Sleep began. The disc-shaped craft, gleaming, with silvery blue metal that redirected sunlight in hypnotic patterns, hovered above what had once been Sol. The Vexari were explorers and collectors, arthropod-like beings with 4 eyes and 6 limbs, their bodies protected by iridescent exoskeletons. Another dead world, clicked senior researcher Du, her specialized appendages adjusting the sensors. Life readings abundant, but no signs of advanced civilization. Captain Toole disagreed. The orbital scans showed regular patterns beneath the surface here, too perfect for natural formation. The ship's scanners penetrated deep, revealing the massive structure of the cradle. Du's compound eyes widened with excitement when energy signatures appeared on her monitor. Incredible. Active power sources after all this time, she chittered. This world wasn't just inhabited, something still running down there. The Vexari weren't the first aliens to discover Earth. Others had come and gone, establishing small outposts in the solar system. The gaseous Jinn had colonized Venus, the crystalline Thun had mining operations on Mercury, and various species had claimed asteroids and moons. But no one had detected the slumbering heart of humanity, buried deep and protected by layers of stealth technology designed to hide from enemy scanners during the ancient war. The cradle remained invisible until its power systems began the scheduled warm-up phase, preparing for an awakening that was 4,500 years overdue. 3 solar cycles later, a Vexari excavation team breached the outer layers of the cradle's defenses. Their spider-like robots, nimble and equipped with cutting tools that could slice through almost any material, carved a path through ancient security systems. The hegemony protocols are clear, warned Security Officer Na, his mandibles clicking nervously. Undisturbed sites should be reported before exploration. Du waved her sensory limbs dismissively. By the time Central Administration processes our request, 10 other research teams will claim this discovery. This could be my path to senior fellowship. The excavation robots transmitted images of long corridors lined with sealed doors, everything pristine despite the passage of time. The Vexari researchers gathered around displays in their temporary base camp, mandibles clicking in excitement. These designs suggest technological sophistication beyond what we assumed for this world, Du noted, her translator converting her clicks and whistles into the standard galactic communication frequency. The preservation is remarkable, the robots continued. Deeper, bypassing barriers through increasingly concerning methods. When they encountered sealed doors with unusual energy signatures, Du ordered them to deploy micro-disruptors, research tools that the hegemony had explicitly forbidden for first contact scenarios. Inside the cradle, ancient systems stirred. The security AI, designed to protect humanity at all costs, detected the intrusion. It analyzed the unknown technology and recognized it as non-human. Defensive protocols activated, but many systems remained in maintenance mode after millennia of self-repair cycles. The AI made a critical decision. It began emergency revival procedures for the command staff. In cryopod A01, Commander Kim's brain activity began to increase. Neural pathways dormant for thousands of years reactivated gradually. The cryogenic fluid drained, replaced by nutrient-rich solution to support his awakening body. Meanwhile, the Vexari robots discovered the first chamber of sleeping humans. Thousands of cryopods arranged in concentric circles, each containing a perfectly preserved person. "Biological specimens," Du exclaimed, her excitement causing her translator to screech. "An entire species preserved. This will revolutionize xenobiology." "Officer." Na's concerns grew. "These aren't just specimens, they appear to be in stasis. If they're still alive, then we've discovered a dormant civilization," completed Du. "The hegemony would claim jurisdiction and relocate our research team." "No, we study them first. Establish primary research rights, then report." As the robots began scanning the cryopods, they triggered additional security measures. Ancient turrets emerged from ceiling panels, recognizing the machines as threats. Energy weapons discharged, destroying 2 robots before the others retreated. In his cryopod, Commander Kim's eyes snapped open for the first time in 5,000 years. The revival chamber hummed with activity as June's cryopod completed its emergency awakening sequence. Her eyes fluttered open, vision blurry and mind clouded with the remnants of a 5,000-year sleep. The neural interface at the base of her skull tingled as the cradle's systems pumped restoration compounds into her bloodstream. "Warning. Security breach in sectors 7 through 12. Unknown entities detected," announced the facility's AI in a calm voice that belied the severity of the situation. June gasped, her throat raw from disuse. She tried to speak but managed only a raspy cough. The pod's lid slid open with a soft hiss, releasing her into the sterile air of the revival chamber. Her legs buckled as she attempted to stand, muscles atrophied despite the cryogenic preservation and electrical stimulation protocols. "Status report," she finally croaked, steadying herself against the pod. The wall display illuminated with security footage, showing strange mechanical creatures crawling through the facility's corridors. Behind them walked bizarre beings unlike anything June had ever seen or trained for. 6-limbed creatures with segmented bodies and compound eyes that reflected light in rainbow patterns. "Aliens," she whispered, the reality of their situation crashing down on her. The cradle's AI had awakened her alone, the facility's defense specialist, rather than Commander Kim or the full leadership team. That meant the situation required stealth and assessment before a larger response. The medical unit provided her with a hydration pack and nutrient shot. Within minutes, her mind cleared and strength returned to her limbs. June moved to the equipment locker and retrieved her gear. A sleek exosuit designed to augment her movements and a multifunction tactical wristband. "How many intruders?" she asked, slipping into the form-fitting exosuit that immediately adjusted to her body. 17 biological entities and 39 mechanical units, the AI responded. "They have established a base camp in Storage Sector 9. June nodded, determination setting her features. "Initiate protocol, Shadow. I'm going to observe." The lights dimmed as she stepped into the corridor. The exosuit's stealth function activated, its surface adapting to match the surroundings. Moving silently through the ancient halls, June marveled at how perfectly the cradle had maintained itself. Everything looked exactly as it had when she entered cryosleep, not a speck of dust to be found. She followed the maintenance tunnels, paths known only to security personnel, keeping pace with the alien robots as they methodically mapped the facility. The mechanical creations moved with an eerie grace, their 8-legged bodies scaling walls and ceilings with equal ease. Near the eastern junction point, June found an observation post overlooking the aliens' base camp. The 6-limbed creatures, had set up a sophisticated array of equipment. Some analyzed samples taken from the facility, while others coordinated the robot scouts through holographic interfaces that hovered in mid-air. June activated her wristband's translation function, a technology designed for potential first contact scenarios. The device recorded and processed the clicking, whistling language of the aliens, gradually building a translation matrix. The material composition suggests technology far more advanced than our historical records indicated for this period. One alien was saying, its mandibles moving rapidly. These beings had mastered molecular stabilization at least 2 centuries before our models predicted. Another alien with distinctive gold markings on its exoskeleton responded, "The preservation systems are remarkable. Some power sources still function after millennia. But where are the biological specimens? Our scans showed life signs." June frowned. They were looking for humans, treating her people like scientific curiosities. Hours passed as she observed, the translation becoming clearer, revealing more about these Vexari creatures and their hierarchical society. The gold-marked one seemed to be called Du, a researcher obsessed with claiming discovery rights. The more cautious one with blue-striped limbs was Na, who repeatedly expressed concerns about protocol violations. 3 days June watched and learned, sleeping in hidden maintenance compartments, using the cradle's systems to track the aliens' progress through the facility. They were getting dangerously close to the central cryogenic chambers, where millions of humans slept. On the 4th day, disaster nearly struck. A Vexari robot investigating the environmental control systems accidentally crossed 2 incompatible power lines. Ancient alarms blared as the facility's AI announced, "Critical failure imminent in cooling systems. Emergency protocols engaged. Sterilization procedures will commence in 3 minutes." June's blood ran cold. The sterilization protocol would flood entire sections with radiation to prevent biological contamination, a measure designed to protect sleepers from ancient pandemics, not to handle curious aliens. It would kill the intruders, but also damage critical systems keeping her people alive. She had no choice. Abandoning stealth, June sprinted through the corridors toward the environmental control hub. She burst into the room where 3 Vexari researchers frantically tried to understand the flashing warning symbols. "Stop! Move away from the controls!" she shouted, her exosuit powering down its camouflage. The aliens froze, compound eyes widening at the sight of her. One raised what appeared to be a weapon. June ignored it, darting past them to the control panel. Her fingers flew across the interface, entering override codes and redirecting the sterilization protocol. "System reset complete. Sterilization cancelled," announced the AI. Only then did June turn to face the stunned aliens. They stared at her with what she could only interpret as shock, multiple limbs twitching with agitation. "So you're awake," clicked the one with gold markings, Du. The translation came through June's wristband. "A living specimen. I am Defense Specialist June of Earth's Protection Force," she replied steadily, allowing her wristband to translate her words into their language. "And you are trespassing in a restricted facility." The aliens exchanged glances before Du stepped forward. "Fascinating. It possesses language and understanding," Du said, as if June couldn't understand. "Does it realize how much time has passed? Does it know its civilization is extinct?" June's jaw tightened. "We are not extinct, and I just saved your lives. The system you triggered would have killed you all." The blue-striped Vexari, Na, moved forward cautiously. "You do understand our technology. How is this possible? Your species was pre-spaceflight." "We had our own technologies," June replied coolly, "and I've been watching you long enough to understand yours." The 3rd alien made a sound that her translator couldn't interpret, but their body language suggested alarm. Du's faceted eyes studied her with scientific detachment. "A remarkable specimen indeed. Tell me, do you understand that your world is now part of the Vexari hegemony's exploration zone? That your species has been sleeping while the galaxy evolved without you?" The condescension in the alien's tone was unmistakable, treating her like a curious relic rather than an equal. June straightened her shoulders, letting her hand rest near the defensive weapon at her hip. a gesture the aliens clearly recognized as significant. "I understand more than you think," she said, "starting with the fact that you violated at least 7 protocols of your own hegemony by forcing entry here without proper authorization." The Vexari stiffened, mandibles clicking rapidly in what June was beginning to recognize as agitation. "Perhaps," she continued, "we should discuss exactly what happens next." The Vexari delegation had reluctantly agreed to June's terms, limited access to the facility in exchange for information about the current state of the galaxy. As they returned to their base camp, June used her security clearance to access the revival protocols. "Selective awakening sequence," she instructed the Cradle's AI. "Priority personnel only." The massive chamber housing millions of cryopods remained dimly lit, preserving the sleep of humanity. Only 2 pods illuminated and began their revival process, one from Science Division, one from Security. June stood watch as the pods completed their cycles, mist rolling off the opening chambers. Dr. Tay emerged first, the brilliant physicist, blinking rapidly as her eyes adjusted to light for the first time in 5 millennia. Security Officer Han followed moments later, his muscular frame tensing as consciousness returned. "Easy," June said, helping them both to medical stations. "The situation is complex but stable for now." While they recovered, June briefed them on everything she'd learned. The Vexari were just one species in a complex galactic community. Earth's solar system, once thought isolated, now sat at the edge of several competing territories. Their sun was considered a backwater star, and Earth merely an archaeological curiosity, until now. "They don't know about the others?" Han asked, his voice still rough from disuse. June shook her head. "They've only found this entrance. They have no idea there are 2 million of us sleeping here." Tay finished reviewing the data on her tablet. "What's interesting is their technology. It's advanced but familiar somehow." "How could alien tech be familiar?" Han asked. Tay's eyes sparkled with realization. "During the development of the cryopods, we discovered something unexpected. The brain doesn't truly sleep during suspension. It processes at a subconscious level. My team theorized this might prevent mental degradation over centuries, but what?" June leaned forward. "What if we've been learning, processing information for 5,000 years? Tay set down her tablet. "The Cradle systems have been observing and recording everything, including all transmissions passing through our solar system. The implications hit them like a shockwave. Their sleeping minds had been absorbing and integrating knowledge for millennia." When they met with the Vexari researchers the next day, the 3 humans proved this theory correct. Du showed them a handheld scanner, explaining its function with the slow, exaggerated gestures one might use with a child. "This device measures molecular composition and energy signatures," the alien said condescendingly. "The concept may be difficult for your species to grasp, but..." Tay picked up the device, studied it for precisely 3 seconds, then adjusted 2 settings to optimize its function. "Your calibration was off for Earth's magnetosphere," she said, casually. "This should give you clearer readings." The scanner's display immediately sharpened, showing a perfect 3-dimensional rendering of the room's composition. Du's compound eyes blinked rapidly, in what the humans were beginning to recognize as shock. "How did you know to do that?" the Vexari researcher asked. Tay smiled innocently. "Just seemed logical." Similar incidents followed. Han intuitively operated a Vexari defense shield after merely observing it once. June deciphered their communication protocols faster than their translation software could keep up. With each demonstration, the aliens' attitudes shifted from condescension to uneasy respect. In private, the 3 humans worked quickly. Using the Cradle's systems, they studied everything the Vexari brought into the facility. Each night, when the alien research team returned to their ship, June, Tay, and Han gathered in the hidden central control room. "Their propulsion technology is fascinating," Tay said, examining schematics she'd memorized from glimpsing a Vexari tablet. "It uses principles we were just beginning to theorize before the sleep." Han was more focused on defensive capabilities. "Their weapons are energy-based, highly efficient, but I noticed a vulnerability in their shielding harmonics." June studied the galactic political map they'd reconstructed from overheard conversations. The Vexari hegemony controls 27 star systems, but they're in a territorial dispute with the Meridian Collective over mining rights to several asteroid belts. Competition we could exploit if needed, Han noted. Tai had disassembled and rebuilt several pieces of equipment borrowed from the aliens. We need to be careful. They're starting to notice our aptitude isn't normal. Indeed, the Vexari were becoming increasingly guarded with their technology. Du had been observed sending encrypted messages to their ship, portions of which the Cradle's AI had deciphered. Specimens displaying unprecedented adaptation. Recommend full research authority. Genetic samples required. On the 7th, day after first contact, the humans implemented the next phase of their plan. June invited the Vexari researchers to observe a demonstration in what they called primitive human technology. The aliens arrived with recording devices and scientific equipment, clearly expecting some archaeological curiosity. Instead, they found themselves in a previously sealed chamber housing the Cradle's quantum computation center. "This is our central processing system," June explained, watching their reactions carefully. "Before you ask, yes, it still functions." The massive crystalline structure pulsed with soft blue light, its processing capacity far beyond anything the Vexari had brought with them. Du approached it with scientific instruments extended, mandibles clicking rapidly in excitement. "Impossible," the alien researcher murmured. "These configurations suggest computational abilities that exceed our current commercial systems." Han crossed his arms. "Ancient history to us, but still useful." What the humans didn't reveal was that while the aliens slept on their ship each night, they had connected the quantum computer to the Vexari systems they'd studied, extracting vast amounts of data about the current state of galactic technology and politics. They learned of the Galactic Council, where 7 major species governed interstellar law. They discovered the location of every Vexari outpost and colony. Most crucially, they identified potential allies, species with grievances against the hegemony who might support Earth's re-emergence. That evening, while reviewing their findings, Tay made a startling discovery in the Vexari databases. "They've sent for reinforcements," she announced, looking up from her work. Tay's science vessel at first, but behind it, a military cruiser. June's expression hardened. "Timeline? 3 days until the science vessel arrives." 5 for the cruiser. Han activated the facility's hidden defense grid, systems that had been upgraded using principles from the aliens' own technology. "We need to wake more of our people." June nodded slowly. "A few dozen, carefully selected, engineers, pilots, additional security. And we need to secure their landing craft," Tay added. "I've been studying their shuttle designs. With some modifications, we could reach their orbital ship." The 3 humans looked at each other, the weight of their species' future heavy on their shoulders. They had awakened to find themselves technological underdogs in a crowded galaxy, but with one crucial advantage: minds that had been unconsciously learning for thousands of years. "Tomorrow," June decided, "we show them exactly what humanity is capable of." The Vexari science vessel Empirical Truth entered Earth's orbit with a low, pulsing hum that scattered clouds beneath its massive hull, 3 times larger than the initial exploration craft. Its segmented, insect-like design bristled with scanning equipment and sampling probes. Behind it, just emerging from the darkness of space, the military cruiser Hegemony's Will approached like a looming storm, all sharp angles and weapon ports barely concealed beneath ceremonial ornamentation. Inside the cradle, 36 humans now stood awake. Each had been chosen for specific expertise: engineering, weapons systems, xenobiology, piloting, and combat. They gathered in the central command hub where June, Tay, and Han had prepared them for what was coming. "Their commander wants a formal meeting," June announced, reviewing the communication that had just arrived. "Science Director Pak is requesting access to the facility with an honor guard of 20 personnel." Han scoffed. "Honor guard? Military units more likely." "Exactly what we expected," Tay said, finishing adjustments to a modified Vexari scanner now repurposed as a tactical display. "They'll try to overwhelm us with numbers while assessing the facility's value." On the surface above the cradle, a sleek shuttle descended from the science vessel, kicking up swirls of dust as it landed in the clearing created by the first expedition. The main hatch opened with theatrical slowness, extending a ramp from which emerged a procession of Vexari officials. At their head walked Science Director Pak, distinguished by an exoskeleton gleaming with metallic implants and ceremonial markings. Unlike the researchers, who moved with curious, jerky motions, Pak strode with practiced authority. Behind came 20 Vexari in formation, their limbs moving in perfect synchronization, carrying what were obviously weapons despite their designation, as scientific tools. Du and the original research team greeted them with formal gestures, mandibles clicking in their native language, too rapid for human translators to catch. The procession then moved toward the cradle entrance, where June waited with Han and 4 security officers. "Welcome to Earth," June said when they approached, her voice firm but diplomatic. "We understand you wish to tour our facility." Science Director Pak stepped forward, upper limbs raised in what might have been a gesture of greeting or dominance. "These are historic times," the translator conveyed. "The hegemony is pleased to officially document the rediscovery of a lost species." The emphasis on officially document wasn't lost on June. The Vexari were establishing formal claim under some galactic protocol. "We welcome scientific exchange," June replied carefully, "but must insist your security detail remain here." "Our facility contains sensitive systems." Pak's compound eyes reflected light in fractured patterns. "Impossible. My safety must be guaranteed. Perhaps you do not understand your situation. Your world has been unclaimed territory for millennia. The hegemony has invested considerable resources in its exploration." "Yet Earth was never abandoned," Han interjected. "We were always here." The tension was palpable as both sides measured each other. Finally, Pak made a small concession. Only 10 security personnel would accompany the delegation. As they descended into the cradle, the Vexari marveled at human technology that had survived 5,000 years without degradation. Tai led them through carefully selected areas, avoiding both the central cryo chambers and the recently activated defense systems. In the Quantum Computing Center, Science Director Pak broke protocol. While the tour continued to another section, the director and 3 security personnel slipped away, heading directly toward the facility's main control systems, exactly as the humans had predicted. They found the control room unlocked and apparently unguarded. Pak moved quickly to the central console, connecting a Vexari device intended to override and claim the system. "Security breach detected," announced the cradle's AI. "Unauthorized access attempt registered." Pak continued working, mandibles clicking, in frustration when the first override failed. "Apply the secondary protocol," the director ordered one of the guards. The guard produced a more sophisticated device and connected it to multiple access points. For a moment, the controls flickered, and Pak made a sound of satisfaction. Then everything went dark. When emergency lighting activated seconds later, the Vexari found themselves surrounded by 6 humans who seemed to have materialized from nowhere, weapons aimed with unwavering precision. "That," said June as she stepped into the light, "was a mistake." Throughout the facility, similar scenes played out. The Vexari delegation discovered their weapons mysteriously non-functional. Communication. Devices failed. The humans, previously deferential, now moved with predatory confidence. "How dare threaten representatives of the hegemony?" Pak's translator conveyed the outrage in choppy syllables. "Our cruiser carries enough firepower to level this entire region." "Your cruiser," Han said with dangerous calm, "is currently experiencing some technical difficulties." Above in Earth orbit, the crew of Hegemony's Will struggled to understand why their weapons targeting systems had suddenly gone offline. Unknown to them, 5 humans had used the Vexari's own shuttle design to deliver a virus to the cruiser's unprotected auxiliary communication array, a vulnerability Tai had discovered in their database. Back in the control room, June activated a holographic display showing the cruiser's compromised systems. "How is this possible?" Pak demanded. "You are a dormant species. Your technology is ancient." "Our technology is ancient," Tai agreed, stepping forward. "But our minds have been active for 5,000 years. She explained the unexpected side effect of human cryosleep, how their brains had continued processing at a subconscious level, absorbing and integrating information from the cradle's monitoring systems. Every transmission that had passed through the solar system, every piece of data collected from passing ships, had been filtered into their sleeping minds. "We've been learning while we slept," June said, "including how the galaxy works now. The hegemony isn't the supreme power you pretend to be. The Meridian Collective would be very interested to know you're claiming a populated world without council. Registration." Puck's compound eyes darted between the humans. "This changes nothing. You are still outnumbered. Our reinforcements will come." "Will they?" Han gestured to another display showing multiple ships entering the system, but not Vexari. "Designs. We've been sending messages. It seems Earth is of interest to many species. Some have legends about us, you know. The sleeping predators who vanished at the height of their power. Whispers had indeed spread through nearby sectors. Humanity's awakening was becoming the most significant event in recent galactic history. Ships from 7 different species now approached Earth, each hoping to establish relations before their rivals. Puck's mandibles clicked rapidly in what the humans now recognized as extreme agitation. "This sector will destabilize. The hegemony cannot allow—" "The hegemony," June interrupted firmly, "will need to negotiate as equals." Outside, more human cryopods were beginning their awakening sequences. Earth's defenders were returning, minds unexpectedly enhanced by their long slumber, ready to reclaim their place among the stars. The ancient predators had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. Within 3 weeks, the cradle hummed with activity as revival chambers worked at capacity. 10,000 humans now walked its halls, each awakening with the same startling discovery. Their minds had changed. What began as a theory had become undeniable reality. 5,000 years of subconscious neural processing had transformed humanity. Admiral Sue stood on the observation deck overlooking the massive awakening chambers, watching as more of her people emerged from their long slumber. As Earth's highest-ranking military officer, she had been among the first 100 revived after the confrontation with the Vexari. "Incredible to think we slept through millennia of galactic development, yet somehow kept pace," she said as June joined her at the viewport. "More than kept pace," June replied. "The xenobiologists say our neural architecture reorganized itself. During suspension, we're processing information differently now." Below them, newly awakened humans demonstrated these changes. Engineers intuitively grasped alien technology after mere moments of examination. Linguists mastered extraterrestrial languages in days rather than years. Pilots stepped into simulators of alien craft and flew them as if born to it. The cradle kept recording everything, Sue mused. Every transmission, every scrap of data passing through our system for 5,000 years, and our sleeping minds absorbed it all. In orbit above Earth, the diplomatic situation had transformed as dramatically as the humans themselves. 17 vessels from 11 different species now positioned themselves in careful formations, each hoping to establish favorable relations with the suddenly relevant Earth. The Vexari ships remained, but their posture had changed from aggression to cautious diplomacy after their military systems proved surprisingly vulnerable to human countermeasures. "The Galactic Council requests your presence, Admiral," a young communications officer reported, approaching with a tablet. "They've convened an emergency session regarding Earth status," Sue nodded. "Tell them we'll send representatives within the day." The preparations for humanity's formal introduction to galactic society continued at remarkable speed. Within hours, a modified Vexari shuttle, now bearing Earth's ancient United Nations symbol, departed for the massive council ship that had arrived at the edge of the solar system. Aboard were Admirals Sue, June, Tay, and 5 other specialists, each chosen for their newly enhanced aptitudes. Their shuttle approached the council vessel, a sprawling structure of impossible architecture, with sections that seemed to phase between dimensions and corridors that defied conventional physics. "The ascended build, beautiful ships," commented Tay, studying the vessel through the viewport. "Their species achieved partial energy transcendence, 800 years ago, according to the records we've recovered. The shuttle docked with precision, and the human delegation entered the council chamber, a vast amphitheater where representatives from dozens of species attended either in person or via sophisticated holographic projections. At the center stood 7 beings, the primary council members representing the dominant galactic powers. The Vexari councillor spoke first, compound eyes fixed on the humans with unmistakable tension. The hegemony formally protests this irregular proceeding. Earth lies within our exploration zone, and Earth has been continuously inhabited for over 200,000 years, Admiral Sue interrupted, her voice calm but carrying power that silenced the chamber. Our temporary dormancy does not negate our sovereignty. A ripple of communication spread through the gathered species. The human delegation had arrived armed not with weapons, but with something far more powerful, complete. Knowledge of galactic politics, alliances, and conflicts extracted from thousands of years of passive data collection. We know about the Meridian resource dispute, June added, and the Thune territorial violations, and the 16 unregistered colonies the hegemony has established beyond their formal boundaries. The Vexari councillor's mandibles clicked rapidly, in alarm. A luminous being of swirling energy, the ascended representative, moved forward. You claim to have gained this knowledge while in suspended animation. This would be unprecedented. Much about humanity may seem unprecedented to you, Tay responded. But we've had 5,000 years to absorb information that passed through our system. The cradle's sensors recorded it all, and our minds processed it, even while we slept. To demonstrate, she activated a holographic display showing detailed information about each council species, their biology, homeworlds, technological capabilities, and cultural touchpoints. The level of detail stunned the assembly. We come seeking neither conflict nor domination, Admiral Sue continued. Earth wishes only to reclaim its sovereign place and establish peaceful relations with all species. The negotiations extended for days. Earth's representatives displayed not only comprehensive knowledge of galactic affairs, but an uncanny ability to predict political moves before they happened, another benefit of their altered neural processing. They secured recognition of Earth's sovereignty, established trade agreements with 7 species, and negotiated defensive pacts with 3 others. Back on Earth, more humans awakened daily. Cities began to rise again on the planet's surface, not rebuilding the past, but creating something new that integrated both ancient human architecture and elements inspired by alien designs. Spacecraft construction facilities broke ground near the equator, the first vessels already taking shape. In the heart of the cradle, June stood with Han in the central control room, monitoring the awakening process that would continue for nearly a year before all 2 million sleepers returned to consciousness. Have you noticed how some of the other species look at us? Han asked. Not with contempt anymore, with something like fear. June nodded. They've been telling stories about Earth for thousands of years. In some cultures, we became legends. The predator species that vanished at its peak, rumored to return someday. And now we have, Han said. Outside the control room viewport, they watched as a group of newly awakened children adapted to their situation with remarkable ease, their young minds even more transformed by the long sleep than the adults. 1. Girl was solving complex equations that combined human mathematics with Thune computational principles she couldn't possibly have learned yet, except through the subconscious processing that had occurred during her suspension. We're not the same species that went to sleep, June observed. Something new has emerged. 6 months after first contact, humanity had established itself as a formidable presence in the galaxy. Earthships now patrolled the solar system, incorporating technologies from a dozen worlds, but distinctly human in their design and operation. The planet had become a hub of interstellar diplomacy, with embassies representing 23 species. Admiral Sue stood on the bridge of Earth's first new capital, ship, the Awakening, as it prepared for its maiden voyage beyond the solar system. Through the view screen, she watched Earth growing smaller, a blue jewel now ringed by orbital stations and shipyards. Course laid in for the galactic central worlds, Admiral, the navigator reported. The Council has approved our formal representative. Status. Sue nodded, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. Humanity had slept for 5 millennia, only to awaken transformed. Their minds evolved in ways none could have predicted. They had emerged not as relics of a forgotten age, but as something entirely new, a species that combined ancient determination with enhanced cognition and knowledge gathered across thousands of years. "Take us out," she ordered. "Humanity has been asleep long enough." As the awakening accelerated toward the stars, news of its departure spread across subspace communications. Throughout the galaxy, other civilizations watched and waited, wondering what these awakened predators would do next. The sleeping giants of Earth had returned, and the universe would never be the same again. The end.